They told Trick Williams to stay in his lane. They told him Randy Orton was untouchable. And tonight, Trick looked a living legend in the eye and said move, or get moved. Now tell me this right now, was that bravery or pure disrespect? Because what happened next just ripped SmackDown in half. The camera barely settled before the tension exploded. Randy Orton standing there, calm, cold, that predator stare that's ended more careers than most wrestlers have had matches. And then Trick Williams walks out. No hesitation, no smile, no fear, just that look that says I don't care who you are. Quick question for you, did you feel your chest tighten the moment Trick stepped into the ring? Because that silence? That wasn't respect. That was danger. Trick didn't start shouting. He didn't pace. He stood toe-to-toe with Orton, shrinking the ring, shrinking the air. He talked about legacy, about how Orton protects his spot while new stars fight for oxygen. And that's when the mood shifted. Orton's jaw clenched. You know that look right before violence. Be honest in the comments at that moment, who did you think would swing first? Here's why this hit so hard. Trick Williams wasn't wrong. Randy Orton is the gatekeeper, the final boss, the man who decides if you belong. And Trick didn't ask for permission. He challenged the throne. That alone was enough to make half the locker room furious and the other half silent. Orton finally spoke, and every word landed like a threat. He didn't yell, he warned. He reminded Trick that confidence gets people hurt, and legends don't need to prove anything. But Trick fired back instantly, said Orton's legend only grows because guys like him are told to wait their turn. Let me ask you this, should young stars wait, or take what they want? The crowd was split. Boos, cheers, chaos. And then it happened. That split second where Orton stepped forward, the Viper ready to strike. The entire arena thought RKO. You probably did too. I know I did. Type it, did you jump out of your seat right there? But Trick didn't flinch. That's the moment that changed everything. Not the words, not the history, the fact that Trick Williams did not back up. That's when Orton realized this wasn't a kid chasing clout. This was a threat to the hierarchy. Officials rushed in, security swarmed, and still Trick kept talking. He said Orton doesn't scare him, that he needs this fight, needs to beat the legend to prove the future isn't coming, it's already here. Simple question, do you believe Trick Williams belongs in the same ring as Randy Orton right now? Orton smirked. That dangerous, slow smile. The kind that promises pain later, not now. And before leaving, he dropped the line that set the internet on fire, careful what you ask for. Because we all know what that means. This wasn't a segment. This was a declaration of war. Trick Williams didn't just step up, he crossed a line most wrestlers are too scared to even look at. And Randy Orton, he doesn't forget. He hunts. So I'll leave you with this, when this match finally happens, does Trick Williams shock the world or become another name on Orton's list? Drop your answers. Argue in the comments. Share this with someone who still doubts Trick. Because after SmackDown, one thing is clear, the ring is rumbling, and the future just picked a fight with the past. And that's where the real anger starts to boil. Because once Orton walked away, the damage was already done. You could feel it. Trick Williams stood alone in that ring, soaking in the noise, and for the first time, SmackDown didn't feel like Randy Orton's playground anymore. Let me ask you, did that ring feel different after Orton left it? Backstage? You already know the locker room was split. Veterans shaking their heads, muttering about respect and earning your stripes. Younger stars watching the monitor, eyes wide, realizing that Trick just did what they were too scared to try. He didn't sneak attack. He didn't beg. He called his shot. So tell me, who do you think respected Trick more in that moment, the legends or the future stars? Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to admit: Randy Orton needs moments like this just as much as Trick does. Because legends survive on relevance, and nothing keeps you relevant like a hungry challenger with nothing to lose. Trick Williams isn't fighting nostalgia, he's fighting complacency. And that terrifies people. Think about Orton's career. Every era-defining run came after someone stepped up and forced him to evolve. Cena, Edge, Rollins. Now it's Trick. And the scary part, Trick doesn't wrestle like Orton's past rivals. He's faster, louder, more reckless. Quick question, is Trick Williams the most dangerous kind of challenger Orton has faced in years? The internet exploded within minutes. Clips replayed, quotes dissected. And the same argument everywhere: Trick is disrespectful versus Trick is necessary. Because WWE doesn't move forward without confrontation. Comfort creates stagnation, and Trick just shattered comfort on live television. You could see it in Orton's eyes before he left. That wasn't dismissal. That was calculation. Randy Orton doesn't strike until he's sure the venom will end you. And Trick? He just painted a massive target on his back. Be honest, do you think Orton is going to make an example out of him? And here's what makes this even more intense: Trick didn't ask for a match. He demanded acknowledgement. That's worse. Matches end. Statements linger. Orton can beat Trick and still lose control of the narrative if the crowd sides with the future. Listen to that crowd again. Listen closely. Those weren't pity cheers. That was belief. The same belief that once followed Orton himself. History has a funny way of repeating and replacing. So now the question isn't if this explodes, it's how violent it gets when it does. Because Randy Orton doesn't forgive challenges to his throne, and Trick Williams doesn't back down from pressure. That collision? It's inevitable. Final question, and I want you honest in the comments when Randy Orton finally snaps. Are you standing with the legend or riding with Trick Williams? Argue it out. Share this video with someone who's already picked a side, because this isn't just a feud, it's a power shift. And Ring Rumble is watching every crack form in the foundation. And that power shift? It doesn't happen quietly. It happens with collateral damage. Because once a legend feels cornered, everyone around them pays the price. Trick Williams may be the spark, but Randy Orton is the wildfire and SmackDown is standing in a dry forest. Think about the timing. Orton didn't lash out. He didn't RKO Trick into next week. He walked away. And that should scare you more than any sudden attack. Answer this: when has Randy Orton walking away ever ended well for the other guy? Because Orton's most dangerous trait isn't violence. It's patience. He studies. He waits. He lets confidence turn into arrogance. And Trick Williams? He's riding the highest wave of his career. The crowd loves him. The spotlight is hot. That's when Orton strikes. You already know what's coming. A backstage ambush. A match ruined. A moment stolen. Orton doesn't fight fair when pride is on the line. He dismantles you piece by piece until the audience starts questioning whether you ever belonged. So let me ask, do you think Trick is ready for that level of psychological warfare? And don't get it twisted, this isn't just about Trick proving himself. This is about Orton defending a legacy built on dominance. Every generation thinks they're different. Every generation thinks they're faster, smarter, untouchable. And every generation eventually meets someone who reminds them that experience is a weapon. But here's where things get interesting. Trick Williams isn't naive. He's watched Orton's career. He knows the traps. He knows the mind games. And still he stepped up. That tells me he's either incredibly prepared or dangerously overconfident. Which one do you think it is? And let's talk about the fans, because they're the real wild card. The louder they get behind Trick, the more desperate Orton becomes to shut them up. Crowd support turns challengers into threats. It forces legends to adapt or fade. And Orton has never faded quietly. Imagine this: Orton finally snaps. RKO out of nowhere. Silence. Trick laid out. And then the crowd boos Orton instead of cheering. That's the nightmare scenario for a legend. Question for you: if that happens, does Orton become the villain, or was he always one? This feud isn't about wins and losses. It's about control. Who controls the narrative? Who controls the locker room? Who controls the future? And right now, that control is slipping through Orton's fingers faster than he wants to admit. Trick Williams doesn't need to beat Orton to win this war. He just needs to survive long enough to prove he belongs. Every minute he stands across from Orton without backing down chips away at the myth. And myths only exist until someone challenges them. So as SmackDown moves forward, watch closely. Watch who Orton targets. Watch how Trick responds. Watch the crowd. Because this isn't building toward a match, it's building toward a moment that defines careers. Final thought before I hand it to you: when history looks back on this night, will it say Trick Williams was reckless or revolutionary? Drop your takes. Debate it. Share this video with someone who still thinks legends can't be touched. Because the ring is rumbling louder than ever, and this time, the future isn't waiting its turn. And that's the part nobody wants to talk about: the aftermath. Because moments like this don't fade after the show goes off the air. They linger. They infect storylines, egos, and locker room politics. Trick Williams didn't just confront Randy Orton, he forced everyone to pick a side. You know, the whispers started immediately. Who does Trick think he is? He's biting off more than he can chew. But mixed in with that, respect. Quiet respect. The kind that doesn't get said out loud because saying it might put a target on your back. So let me ask you, if you were in that locker room, would you say Trick was reckless, or would you secretly be rooting for him? Because deep down, every superstar remembers the first time they stood up to someone bigger, more powerful, more protected. That moment defines you. And whether Trick wins or loses, he's already crossed into a new category. He's not up and coming anymore. He's dangerous. And Randy Orton knows it. You could see it in the way Orton paused before leaving the ring. That half-second longer than usual. That wasn't hesitation, it was acknowledgement. Legends don't give that away easily. They only do it when they recognize a problem that won't go away. Here's what makes this situation volatile: Orton thrives when he's underestimated. Trick thrives when he's doubted. That's a collision course with no safe ending. Be real, does this feel like the kind of rivalry that ends clean? Because history says no. History says someone gets hurt. Careers get redirected. Momentum gets stolen. And usually it's the younger star who pays the price. Usually, but Trick Williams isn't playing the usual role. He's not chasing approval. He's not asking for mentorship. He's demanding confrontation. That's a bold strategy against a man who built his name on ending careers with 3 letters. And think about this: what happens if Trick survives the RKO? What happens if he kicks out? What happens if Orton throws everything he has and Trick keeps standing? Question for you: would that be the biggest shock of Orton's SmackDown career? Because legends can lose matches. What they can't afford to lose is aura. And Trick is already chipping away at it just by refusing to be intimidated. Every stare down, every promo, every second he shares the ring with Orton without blinking makes the myth feel a little more human. And that's why this feels so personal. Orton isn't just defending his spot, he's defending the idea that legends are untouchable. Trick is challenging that idea head-on. So watch the next few weeks closely. Watch for the subtle attacks, the mind games, the calculated cruelty. Orton doesn't explode, he erodes you. And Trick's response to that erosion will tell us everything about his ceiling. Final question: is Trick Williams built to endure the slow burn of Randy Orton, or does he need chaos to survive? Drop your thoughts. Argue with each other. This is the kind of debate that defines eras. Because whether you like it or not, SmackDown just changed and the ring is rumbling louder than it ever has before.